Everything's gonna be okay, right? Just let me do the talking, okay? Just
Evening, ladies. License, please. Where are you headed?
We were just out for a drive.
Headed to the border?
Oh, no. We were just going up to the...
Hey there. What's your name?
Grace.
Are you pregnant, Grace? Step out of the vehicle.
She does not have to.
Yes, she does.
No.
Show me your hands on the wheels, please. Grace, step out of the vehicle. On the wheel.
Grace, it's okay.
Don't know if you guys saw that before, but last spring, Midas Touch released that ad depicting this dystopian society where police would be pulling folks over. They're depicting a mother and a young daughter looking for some way to take care of this pregnancy she has, and didn't explain why that they were looking to take care of it in a way as far as abortion goes, but it was at least showing the way things could be. And if you want to live in that kind of society, well, as conservatives probably saw that and said, you guys are hyperventilating over this whole thing. There's a small town in Texas that's actually trying to make it a reality. It's called Llano. Hope I'm saying that wrong too, Texas. This is what they've been up to. Because more than a year after Roe versus Wade was overturned, many conservatives oddly have grown frustrated by the number of people that are able to circumvent anti-abortion laws, with some advocates grasping for even stricter measures that they hope will fully eradicate abortion nationwide. Pause. Do you guys remember when Roe versus Wade was struck down and they said, this is just the states' rights issues. We want to send it back to the states. You guys shouldn't be so concerned about nationwide abortion restrictions, because that's not what we're on, as they're on it now. But this particular thing is about something a bit closer to the home down there in Llano. That frustration is driving a new strategy in heavily conservative cities and counties across Texas. Designed by the architects of the state's heartbeat ban that took effect months before Roe fell, ordinances like the one proposed in Llano, where some 80% of voters in the county backed President Trump in 2020, the proposals make it illegal to transport anyone to get an abortion on roads within the city or city limits. The laws allow any private citizen to sue a person or organization they suspect of violating the ordinance. That part is what they took from a heartbeat bill, I believe, or maybe even some of the other bills that they were pushing, saying any random citizen can see a doctor, see a woman, see a mother, see a young woman, see a birthing person and go, you know what, I know what they're doing. I get to sue and I'm gonna take the law in my own hands because that's what I feel. Well, the degree to which they're trying to restrict people accessing roads in the United States of America, this is the degree to which they're going about this. Anti-abortion advocates behind this measure are targeting regions along interstates and in areas with airports, with the goal of blocking off the main arteries out of Texas and keeping pregnant women hemmed within the confines of their anti-abortion state, trapping them. These provisions have already passed in 2 counties and 2 cities, creating a legal risk for those traveling on major highways, including Interstate 20 and Route 84, which head toward New Mexico, where abortion remains legal and new clinics have opened to accommodate Texas women. He said this is really building a wall to stop abortion trafficking. That's what Mark Lee Dixon said. He's an anti-abortion activist behind this whole effort. Abortion trafficking. So there's that old thing Republicans always say, if you don't like it, why don't you go somewhere else? Well, people are trying to go somewhere else and you're trying to trap them in the state because it's not about freedom. It's not even about the kids. What it's about is control over women. Like, how dare they do something that they want? You know what this is? It's the United States of America, where we restrict access for people to travel on roads in the United States of America, because that's the United States of America when it comes to conservatives, though. Jump in here after we show this graph here, David, because these are some of the Texas counties and highways that are targeted by these ordinances. All of the tan squares there are the places where they're interested in having these blocking proposals, and the darker ones, which are only 2 here, are counties where the ordinances have passed. And Llano is right there in the middle. So if you can look at the details of it, every major freeway or road out of this state has some strategic places where they'll be blocked because these counties are like, hell no, we want to control your entire life. And one more part, specifically Llano, next graphic here, you guys. Llano and those 5 streets out, or general roads out, are also part of this whole thing. That's why Llano is one of the ones on this list. So, you know, freedom, David.
I mean, this makes me sick. This is like one of the most ridiculous things I think I've ever heard. The idea that people have time to sort of do this. I always thought Republicans were against big government. Well, this is big government with the scarlet letter. I mean, you're actually going to have your police and law enforcement try to stop people to enforce the law. And then, oh, by the way, Republicans also said that they were against, lawsuits and lawyers. But now you're simply going to encourage more lawsuits because you're going to allow people just to sue somebody because you suspect that maybe they're pregnant and maybe they're going to travel out of the state to get an abortion. That is ridiculous. And this is another reason why I think people in Texas, and thank God for the progressives in Texas who are trying to fight these battles. But I think there are some communities in Texas that are beyond hope. And I just hope that if there's a woman out there or a family out there and they've got an unwanted pregnancy or for any reason they feel like they need to exercise the reproductive rights, I hope you will leave the state. Don't come back, or don't come back to some of these conservative areas.
Well, there's some of these conservatives that actually are wondering how bad this could look. I think they have a little bit of foresight. One of them, her name is Laura Almond. She's absolutely against abortion, but she's wondering about this. Maybe this is the glimmer of hope, which isn't going to get us very far. This is what happened. She says, I feel like there's a lot more to discuss about this. Again, that's Laura Almond. She's a staunch conservative who owns a consignment shop in the middle of their town. She says, I have a ton of questions. She says, I hate abortion. I'm a Jesus lover like all of you in here. They were having a meeting about it, of course, to determine whether or not they're gonna do this. Still, she said, she couldn't help thinking about the time in college when she picked up a friend from an abortion clinic and how someone might have tried to punish her under this law. Someone being the people that you're surrounding yourself with. She says it's overreaching, and we're talking about people here. Pause. So you got an entire political party that's pushing this type of restrictive access so much that there's people within it that go, you guys, I wanna remind you, what we're talking about are people, not cattle, not your animals in your house. We're talking about people. You have to remind people that are in positions of power to enact legislation that who they're enacting them on are people. That's where we are now. And that's one of the conservatives that's remind them of that. Because if someone else says it, they'll just say, here, we're gonna take y'all back and beat your ass. But still, can these laws be enforced? I think you mentioned that as well too, David. Let's go to graphic 8. Abortion rights advocates say that the ordinance effort is merely a ploy to scare people out of seeking the procedure. And to date, no one has been sued under the existing abortion trafficking laws that they're putting into place. The purpose of these laws is not to meaningfully enforce them, said Nisha Dave, executive director of the Lilith Fund. It's an abortion fund based in Texas. She says it's the fear that's the point. It's the confusion that's the point. And speaking of confusion, the mayor of the town doesn't know what the hell this is about either. He says, on this point here, while the language of the draft ordinance explicitly states that it would apply to people transporting, quote, any individual for the purpose of providing or obtaining an elective abortion, the mayor, Marion Bishop, said that the term abortion trafficking, which they're using now, did not apply to women who were choosing to get abortions on their own free volition, right? He says, it would be people who were either coerced or undecided, who found themselves loaded onto a van and headed somewhere. This is what Bishop said in an interview at the vodka distillery that he owns downtown. Sorry, it's not a laughing matter, but bro is in his vodka distillery. He's like, you know what? This whole law that's getting proposed in my city, who knows what it does? I mean, I guess. By the way, after they found it out, pressed on the contradiction between his statement and the language of the proposal, that mayor of this town, Bishop, he acknowledged that what he originally said, quote, may not be totally accurate. Come on.
Here's a law that would make more sense. I'll do this real quickly. Here's a law that would make sense. If you're against abortion, require that every teenager, anybody who's driving around must carry condoms. Required that they have condoms on their persons wherever they go. That's the way you decrease pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies, decrease abortions, not this malarkey about trying to worry about people who might get in a van to get an unwanted abortion.
David, protection, education, safe sex. What are you talking about? We know the answer to this whole thing is just then eventually, if you see a 16-year-old driving around with his girlfriend in his car, what you do is you pull them over and say, have you guys been having sex? Was it last week? If so, I'm gonna arrest you. That's where we're going, bro. How much further back can you get, right?
Yep.
Restrictive access.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.